Salvaging flood damaged material, an informative presentation for those affected by the Toowoomba and Lockyer Valley. What to salvage first? Salvage material in order of fragility. Older photographic materials such as pre-1950s colour formats and deteriorated black and white prints. Books or pamphlets on coated papers. These papers contain a starch and clay sizing which becomes like glue once it is wet and then allowed to dry. Audio, video and computer tape. Records with water-soluble media, for example watercolouring sketches. Paper records which were very fragile before the flood, example previously mould-damaged material. More modern photographic material like contemporary colour material, recent black and white prints. Paper-based files, books on uncoated paper, photocopied material. Please remember, speed is essential. Records need to be dried ASAP to prevent further deterioration and the formation of mould. Salvage methods: freezing. According to Walters 1975, the most satisfactory methods of stabilizing water-damaged books, manuscripts, maps, prints, drawings, and archival collections is freezing. Use freezing method if item cannot be dried within 48 hours. The freezing technique provides advantages when the total damage of a material is not clear. These advantages include the stabilization of water-soluble materials such as ink, the reduction of stains, and the prevention of mould. Freezing is recommended for books and materials that are thoroughly soaked. Salvage methods: air drying. Air drying is the oldest and most common method of dealing with wet records, most suitable for slightly wet books and documents, but varies in unique circumstances. There are 5 steps to air drying wet records. Number 1, secure a clean, dry environment where the temperature and humidity are as low as possible. Number 2, keep the air moving using fans. This will accelerate the drying process and discourage growth of mould. If drying outside, beware sunlight may fade ink and damage paper. Number 3, records can be protected with paper towels or can be laid across clotheslines, preferably indoor racks for drying. Number 4, if records are printed on coated paper, they must be separated from one another to prevent them from clinging together. Be careful not to tear or break. Here we have the flood salvage chart. As you can see, manuscripts and documents, maps and oversized prints should be freeze and dried within 48 hours using the air, vacuum or freeze dry method, while paintings, discs, sound and videotapes are to be air dried. Another important aspect of salvaging flood damaged material is controlling the climate. The National Archives of Australia publication Standard for the Physical Storage of Commonwealth Records 2002 notes that fluctuations in temperature and relative humidity will hasten the deterioration rate of the records. Therefore, climate needs to be controlled, especially due to the fact that flood damaged material deteriorates faster in temperatures of high moisture. Relative humidity levels for paper-based artifacts should be maintained at about 50%, give or take 5%, and temperature levels should be maintained at about 20 degrees Celsius, plus or minus 2 degrees. Below 30% relative humidity is dangerous because it dries out and embrittles most materials, and above 75%, the likelihood of mould growth increases considerably. IFLA principles suggest the following precautions. Ensure good air circulation by appropriate use of fans and windows. Use dehumidifiers to reduce humidity in badly affected areas of book stack. Use insulation methods to reduce heat gain and use of blinds to keep out direct sunlight. Ensure buildings are properly maintained to keep out dampness during rainy periods. What to do about mould? Removing mould yourself in a flood incident is not recommended due to complications and health and safety risks. However, to kill mould on personal records, you need to reduce the amount of moisture by going back to the freezing and air drying method. Personal protection should always be the first priority when entering a mould-infested area. Yet the best way to kill mould is to prevent it altogether. To do this, avoid dirty surfaces. Do not stack records together and allow good air circulation. Mould also grows on fingerprints and human touch. Therefore, avoid touching records with bare hands to prevent stains and mould acceleration. Preservation management for future flood disasters. Digitalize material for preservation. Scan old and new photographs and catalogue in a homemade repository. Save manuscripts and documents on the computer or on an external drive, as well as having the physical copy. Create barriers for protection in the case of the next flood, for example, sandbags. And in the case of a flood, protect materials by: number 1, avoiding basement storage whenever possible. Number 2, checking there is a means of egress for any water that may get in. Number 3, raising the bottom shelf of any storage at least 150 millimeters off the floor. Number 4, leaving a small gap between any shelving and outer walls so that the documents or the boxes in which they are contained do not touch the walls. Number 5, do not leave documents piled on floors or beside windows. In other words, be prepared, as some water damage is irreversible. If material is damaged by water, undertake freezing or air drying methods as soon as possible. However, prevention of deterioration is better than salvaging material. This concludes my presentation, and here is the list of references. Thank you.